It sounds like your Cane Corso might be going into surgery sometime soon. And that can be a little scary for any owner, especially when we're talking about a big dog like a Cane Corso. So we're doing a deep dive today on getting your Cane Corso prepped for surgery. We listened to another podcast episode, and we're going to kind of share some of our insights from that. One of the things that really stood out to me was the emphasis they put on Cane Corsos and stress.
Yeah, and they're really sensitive dogs. Like a lot of people think, oh, they're big, tough guard dogs. But they actually take on their owner's energy a lot.
Oh, really?
Like if you're stressed, they're going to get stressed. So like going into surgery, if the owner's really anxious and worried about their dog, the dog's going to feel all those emotions times 10.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's definitely something to keep in mind. So, okay, let's get practical here. The podcast episode laid out this whole pre-surgery checklist that starts like a whole week before the actual surgery date. So what is all that about?
So it's really like a pre-flight check. Before you send a plane up in the air, you want to make sure that every single thing is in tip-top shape. It's kind of the same thing with your dog, especially for large breeds like Cane Corsos. They have unique considerations when it comes to anesthesia and potential breed-specific health factors that you need to be aware of.
So we're not just talking about a quick little checkup here.
No.
This is the full workup.
Exactly.
Blood work, x-rays, the whole 9 yards.
We want to make sure the heart and lungs are all ready to go. And this actually ties back into what we were just saying about stress.
Okay.
There was some research that showed that Cane Corsos with pre-existing heart conditions, they can actually experience more severe complications from anesthesia if they're really stressed going into surgery.
Wow. Okay, so managing their stress isn't just about keeping them happy.
No.
It's actually really important for their physical health and safety, too.
Right.
This is serious stuff. And speaking of keeping them healthy, the episode also talked about vaccinations, making sure those are up to date.
Yeah. Even just a routine trip to the vet can expose them to all sorts of things.
Yeah, you're right.
So we want their immune system to be strong before they undergo something major, like surgery.
That makes sense.
And while we're on the topic of kind of preventative care, I think we should mention medications.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Because some common supplements, like joint support, for example, those might need to be adjusted or even temporarily stopped in the days leading up to surgery.
Oh, wow. Okay, I'm already starting a list here.
It's a lot to keep track of.
Yeah, but it's better to be safe than sorry, right?
Right.
And the episode really stressed how important it is to talk to your vet. Like, don't be afraid to ask questions.
You are your dog's advocate. No one knows them better than you do. So, if you're worried about something, no matter how small it might seem, don't be shy. Bring it up.
Ask all the questions.
Yeah.
The more information you have, the better. Okay, so we've got the pre-flight check covered. We're talking to our vet like pros. What's next?
Well, the next thing is we're going to get their recovery space ready, like a little luxury suite for our canine king or queen.
I like it.
Right. So we want it to be comfy, quiet, and spacious. Because remember, these are large breed dogs. They need plenty of room to stretch out and move around.
So no shoving them in a tiny little crate?
No, definitely not.
Give them space to relax and recover?
Right.
Okay, but what about those first few days after surgery? I imagine they're going to be pretty out of it.
Yeah, they probably will be. A little groggy, disoriented. Maybe a little nauseous.
Okay.
Some Cane Corsos even experience a decreased appetite for a couple of days. But that's all normal. Just make sure you follow your vet's instructions.
Okay, so we're following the vet's instructions and we're just being patient and giving them lots of TLC.
Exactly. Now, something else the podcast talked about that I thought was interesting was how Cane Corsos react to fasting.
Oh, right, because they can't eat or drink before surgery.
Right. And Cane Corsos, they're known for being pretty stoic.
Yeah, they are, even when they don't feel good.
Yeah. So it's important to really watch for any subtle signs that they might be struggling.
Okay, I'm already picturing those sad puppy dog eyes staring me down when I'm eating dinner. But how can we tell if they're really not handling the fast well?
So look for things like excessive lip licking, pacing, whining, anything that's out of the ordinary for your dog.
Got it. So we're being observant and, of course, following our vet's instructions.
Always.
Okay, now the episode also mentioned keeping exercise light the day before surgery. Is that just about, like, preventing them from getting all riled up?
Well, that's part of it. But it's more than that. Remember we were talking about how Cane Corsos mirror their owner's emotions.
Right.
If they're already kind of amped up from a vigorous workout,
Yeah.
and then you're feeling stressed about the surgery, you can kind of create this negative feedback loop.
Okay, so we're really trying to set the stage for calm and relaxation.
Exactly.
Got it. So we've got the fasting, the exercise. Anything else we need to check off the list before the big day arrives?
A little pre-surgery pampering is always nice.
Oh, like a spa day.
Right. Give them a bath a day or two before the procedure, because they probably won't be able to have one for a while afterwards.
That's true, and they'll be nice and clean and cuddly.
Exactly.
Plus, maybe that spa day can double as a little bonding time.
Yes.
We can practice some relaxation techniques.
Right.
Like maybe a little gentle massage or just quiet conversation.
Remember, they feed off your energy. So if you can stay calm and collected, they're more likely to feel at ease too.
Okay, that's a good point. So we're talking to our vet, we're prepping their recovery space, we're keeping them calm, maybe even indulging in a little spa day. Is there anything else we need to know before we actually head to the vet?
Just make sure you have a calm morning of routine. Like a quick potty break is good. But avoid anything too stimulating. And of course, double check that you have everything you need, like their medical records, any medications the vet requested, maybe even a familiar blanket or toy to provide comfort.
It's all about making that unfamiliar environment as stress-free as possible. Okay, good call. Now, I know we're focusing on pre-surgery prep in this part of the deep dive, but I have to admit, I'm already starting to get nervous about what happens after the surgery.
I get it. It's totally normal to feel that way.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, surgery is a big deal for both the dog and the owner. But the good news is that with the right knowledge and preparation, we can help our Cane Corsos navigate this experience safely and comfortably. And in the next part of our deep dive, we're going to tackle those immediate post-surgery considerations. So stay tuned.
Okay, I can't wait. All right, so we've prepped like pros. We sent our Cane Corso off to surgery.
Yeah.
And now we're just playing that waiting game. That's got to be the hardest part, right?
It is. The waiting is definitely tough.
Yeah.
But while we wait, let's talk about those first few hours and days after surgery. The podcast episode we were listening to, they really emphasize that each dog is different, even within the same breed.
Okay.
So like some Cane Corsos might bounce back from anesthesia really quickly, but others might be a little dazed and confused for a few hours.
So like they just woke up from a really long nap? Okay, so a little disorientation, a little grogginess. Anything else we should expect?
Well, some dogs experience some nausea or decreased appetite after anesthesia,
Okay.
but it's usually temporary.
Okay.
Your vet will give you instructions on how to manage that.
Okay, so we're watching for those potential side effects. We're following the vet's instructions. But what about pain management?
Yeah, that's a big one. Your vet will probably prescribe pain medication to keep your Cane Corso comfortable. And this is something the podcast really stressed. Large breeds like Cane Corsos, they often need different dosages than smaller dogs.
Okay, so we're definitely following those dosage instructions carefully.
Absolutely.
No guessing games when it comes to pain relief. And what about activity restriction?
Right, well, that's going to be one of the biggest challenges.
Yeah, because Cane Corsos are such energetic dogs.
They are, but it's really important to limit their movement for those first few days to prevent any complications.
So no jumping on furniture, no racing up and down the stairs, no playing too rough with their siblings if they have any.
Exactly.
Okay, so it sounds like I'm going to have to channel my inner Zen master to create a calm and controlled environment at home.
It might feel that way sometimes.
But what about potty breaks?
So even with restricted activity, short leash-controlled walks are really important.
Okay, so just enough to take care of business and get a little fresh air.
Right.
So I guess we're going to have to get creative with keeping them entertained indoors.
You will. Think calming music playlists, gentle massage, maybe even break out those puzzle toys.
Oh, I love the idea of puzzle toys. A little mental workout to make up for the lack of physical activity. And speaking of mental well-being, the podcast also mentioned the dreaded cone of shame.
Oh, yeah.
Is that really necessary?
Well, I like to think of it as the satellite dish of protection.
Okay.
It might not be the most fashionable accessory,
Yeah.
but it's really important to prevent them from licking or chewing at their incision.
So we're sacrificing style for safety.
Exactly.
A worthy trade-off, I think. And what about caring for the incision itself?
So you're going to want to check it every day. Look for any signs of redness, swelling, discharge, or if the sutures look like they're loosening.
Okay, got it. Daily incision checks are on the to-do list. Now, the podcast also mentioned follow-up appointments with the vet. Are those really necessary if everything seems to be healing?
Okay, they are. Those checkups are super important. It's a chance for your vet to see how the incision is healing, adjust medications if needed, and answer any questions you might have.
So we're sticking to that follow-up schedule no matter what.
Absolutely.
But what if things don't go smoothly? What are some red flags we should be watching for?
Okay, so while most Cane Corsos recover from surgery without any major issues, there are a few things to keep an eye on. Like if they seem excessively lethargic, or if they lose their appetite and it lasts for more than a day or two,
Okay.
or if they're vomiting, having diarrhea, or any trouble breathing, you need to call your vet right away.
Got it. We're staying vigilant. So far, all this talk has been about those first few days after surgery. But what about the longer-term recovery?
All right, well, that's where things get a little more interesting, especially with an active breed like the Cane Corso.
Because we want them to get back to their normal energy levels.
We do, but we need to make sure they get there gradually and safely.
So no throwing them back into their usual routine right away.
No, definitely not. Think of it like training for a marathon. You wouldn't just sprint out of the gate.
That's a good analogy. So we're taking it slow and steady. But what does that actually look like?
So it all starts with those short leash-controlled walks we talked about. As your Cane Corso gets stronger, you can gradually increase the duration and intensity of their walks.
Okay, so we're gradually building up their stamina. But what if they had a more serious procedure, like an orthopedic surgery?
Right. Well, in those cases, your vet might recommend specific exercises or even physical therapy.
Oh, wow. So it's like a personalized workout routine for their recovery.
Exactly.
I like that. But even with those tailored exercises, there are still limitations, right?
Of course.
Here.
Even as they start to feel better. We need to be mindful of their joints and the surgical site.
Okay, so no sudden bursts of high-impact activity.
Right.
We're guiding them towards a gradual and controlled return to their full athletic potential.
Exactly.
So we're basically their personal trainers.
In a way, yes.
But beyond the physical aspects of recovery, what about the emotional side of things?
That's a great point. Recovery isn't just about the physical healing. It's also about managing the emotional ups and downs.
And I'm sure there will be plenty of those.
There will be for both you and your dog.
So we're talking about patience understanding, lots of TLC.
Exactly. Remember, your Cane Corso is going through a major life event,
Yeah.
and they're relying on you for comfort and reassurance.
So we need to be their biggest cheerleader.
Yes.
Their constant source of support.
Exactly.
So we're providing physical care, we're managing their activity, and we're showering them with emotional support. Anything else we need to keep in mind?
I think the most important thing is to remember that every dog is different, and every recovery is unique.
Okay.
So there's no one-size-fits-all approach.
So we're tuning into their individual needs, not just following some generic timeline.
Exactly.
But how can we tell if our Cane Corso is genuinely uncomfortable? Or just trying to milk the situation for extra cuddles?
Well, they are masters of the sad puppy dog eyes,
They are.
but pay close attention to changes in their normal behavior.
Okay, so what kinds of changes should we be looking for?
Well, if they're suddenly more withdrawn or lethargic, or if they're vocalizing more than usual, those could be signs that something's not right.
Okay.
And also, watch for any changes in their eating habits, their bathroom routines, or their sleep patterns.
Right, so we're basically becoming Cane Corso decoders.
That's a good way to put it.
But when in doubt, we're calling the vet.
Always a good idea.
Yeah.
And, speaking of potential issues, I think it's really important to talk about our own well-being as pet parents.
Oh, absolutely. This whole experience is stressful for us, too.
It is.
I mean, we're worried about our dog. We're trying to manage their recovery. It can feel overwhelming at times.
I get it. But here's the thing. Our dogs can sense our emotions. So if we're stressed and anxious, they're going to pick up on that.
So managing our own stress is actually part of caring for them.
It really is. It's not selfish to prioritize self-care during this time.
Okay, good, because I was starting to feel a little guilty about that.
Don't feel guilty. Taking care of yourself, whether it's a few minutes of deep breathing, a walk in nature, or just connecting with supportive friends and family, it allows you to show up for your Cane Corso as the calm, confident leader they need.
I love that perspective shift. Self-care isn't a luxury, it's a necessity.
It is.
And what about those moments when we're feeling lost or unsure? Where can we turn for guidance and support?
Well, you're not alone in this. You can lean on your support network, connect with other Cane Corso owners, or even join some online forums.
I like the idea of having a virtual community of Cane Corso enthusiasts to cheer us on and share their wisdom. Okay, so as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, is there a key takeaway you want to leave our listeners with?
I think the most important thing to remember is that every recovery is unique. There's no one-size-fits-all approach. So trust your instincts, follow your vet's guidance, and most importantly, shower your Cane Corso with love and support every step of the way.
Beautifully said. So we're observing, we're adapting, and we're trusting our gut. We're managing our own stress levels and leaning on our support system. And most importantly, we're giving our Cane Corso the unconditional love and care they need to navigate this journey back to full health. And in the next part of our deep dive, We'll explore some bonus tips and tricks to make this whole experience as stress-free as possible for both you and your beloved Cane Corso. Stay tuned.
All right, so we talked about pre-surgery prep and navigating those first few days of recovery, but let's be real, those weeks after surgery can be tough, especially with a Cane Corso who's normally so energetic.
Yeah, it's a real balancing act. You want them to rest, but you also don't want them to get bored.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how do we keep them entertained without letting them overdo it? Well, the podcast had some good ideas about mental stimulation, ways to keep their minds engaged without physical strain.
Okay, I'm all ears.
So puzzle toys are a great option. They really make those dogs think.
Yeah, I can see my Cane Corso now trying to figure out how to get that treat.
Exactly. And they're staying put while they do it.
Okay, what about those interactive feeders?
Those are awesome. They turn mealtime into a game.
And it slows down their eating.
Right. It's like a 2-for-1.
Now, the podcast also mentioned training.
Yeah.
Is that okay to do during recovery?
You know, gentle training sessions can actually be really good. It's a way to bond with your dog and keep their mind working.
Okay, so we're keeping it low-key.
Exactly.
No crazy moves.
Right. Just focus on basic commands or tricks they already know.
Mental reps, not physical ones.
That's it.
But what about when we can't be there to entertain them? Like when we have to go to work or run errands?
Well, if your Cane Corso's crate trained, that can be helpful.
Yeah, it's their little safe space.
Right. It gives them a sense of security.
What if they're not crate trained?
You can still create a comfy, confined space for them.
So like a small room or a sectioned off area.
Exactly. The key is to keep them from wandering around and hurting themselves.
Okay, but even with a comfy space, they're going to miss us, right?
Oh, they will. Try leaving them with a shirt that smells like you. Or use a calming pheromone diffuser.
Oh, that's a good idea. So how can we tell if they're really in pain? Or just being dramatic?
Oh, Cane Corsos are masters of the sad eyes.
They are.
But again, watch their behavior.
Okay. Any changes in their normal routine?
Exactly. Like, are they more withdrawn? Are they sleeping more or less than usual?
Okay, we're watching for any red flags.
Right. And if you're ever in doubt, call your vet.
Always better to be safe than sorry.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And you know, we should talk about the pet parents too.
Oh, yeah. Because this is stressful for us, too.
It really is. And your dog can sense that stress.
So what can we do?
Take care of yourself. Get some exercise. Eat well. Maybe do some meditation or deep breathing.
So self-care isn't selfish.
Not at all. It helps you be the best caregiver you can be.
And what if we just feel lost?
You know, reach out to your support system. Talk to other Cane Corso owners. There are even online forums.
It's good to know we're not alone. Okay, as we wrap up this deep dive, any final thoughts?
You know, just remember that every dog is different. Every recovery is unique. Trust your instincts. Talk to your vet. And give your Cane Corso lots of love.
I love that. So we're observing, we're adapting, we're trusting our gut, and we're giving our Cane Corso all the support they need. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We're sending you and your furry friend all the best for a smooth and successful recovery.
See you next time.